Hello, my most awesome artists. We are going to continue to work on our stained glass windows. So if you remember from last time, I told you not to cut this yarn. What we're going to do today is we're going to cut that yarn that's hanging off over the edge. Be careful not to cut the paper. You don't want to cut the paper, you just want to cut the yarn. It helps to use the inner part of the scissors right here to cut the yarn the best. If you have a piece that is loose like this here, oh wait, no, that's not loose, that's just not going in the right direction. Never mind, but if you have a piece that's loose like that, you can add some glue and fix it. So I'm just gonna go everywhere where I had some yarn hanging over and chop it, trim it. Okay, now this is all trimmed the way I want it to. I'm going to take my yarn, gather it into a nice pile, and throw it in the garbage because of course I'm not going to leave it on the floor or on the table. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to start painting in our stained glass window. We will be using watercolors, so here are some nice sets of watercolors. We're going to be using different watercolors depending on what your class chooses. So here is some glitter watercolor. And how I use this is one, I dip my brush in the water, wipe off the other side, and I'm going to wake up the color paint that I want on there. So I think I'm going to get some of this violet or purple, and then I'm going to paint it on the paper. If I want the paint to be darker, I'm going to get more paint on there. If I want it to be lighter, I'm going to add some more water. So I'm going to go ahead and paint in my heart here, just my heart, using the watercolors. Okay, now my heart is all painted in. So I'm going to take my brush in the cup, swirl it around on the bottom there a couple times. Now you should be making a milkshake like this because that's not what we're supposed to be doing. So just swirl it around, then wipe the one side off and the other. And you're going to get a different color. You are not mixing these colors up in the paint tray because then we won't be using them again and we won't be happy. So make sure you're treating the paint nicely and washing your brush off in between. Let's say I get too much water in there on the paper than what I want. There are several ways to solve this problem. One, spread out the water if there's or paint in the water if there's enough space. If there's not, what you can do is you can take your brush, wipe it off good, and roll it over that paint and it will absorb some of that water. If you don't want to do that, one last way to remove pools of water off of your paper is you can take a paper towel, place it over top of it, and that will absorb the water. So there are 3 different ways to absorb the water. Now, I'm going to go ahead and paint in the rest of my stained glass windows. You should be painting them all, like different sections, one color. I should not see this triangle here be multiple different colors. It should only be one. Washing my brush off in between and painting this in. Oh, one other thing. You may mix colors, but are you allowed to mix colors on the tray? Are you allowed to do it right on here? No. If you want to mix colors, for example, let's say I want to mix and make a teal. So I'm going to put some blue on here, clean off my brush, and then I'll put some green on here and mix that together. So it's more of like a blue-green there, but you may do that. You may not mix them on the tray because then you won't be using the watercolors. But if you want to mix them like that, that's perfectly fine. On the paper, it's okay. Tray, it's not so much. So I'm going to go ahead now and finish painting this in, and we'll see what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, now I finished painting in my painting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure my tray is nice and clean. If there's a bunch of water in there, you're either going to take a paper towel and wipe it up, or let Miss Miller know so that we don't make a mess of the paint because we want to keep using these. And if the tray is a mess, we're not going to be able to keep using these. I'm going to shut this tight paintbrush in the middle of the table with your water cup. I'm going to turn this way, and I'm going to put this on the drying rack to dry. Have fun, my most awesome artists.